Yo, YouTube, what it do? Coming at you guys with another great plumbing video. This video, what I want to talk about is my actual bio and my experience in the plumbing world. I've got more people coming to the channel, people asking me questions, and I want to give you guys an insight as to how much experience I've had. I've been doing this for a little over 10 years now, got a lot of different tools under my belt, and I figured I'd put it all into a video. So keep it short and sweet. I'm part of a networking group out here. It's actually a nationwide networking group, but I had to do a presentation for them. Part of like what all I do at my company, my bio, like my background, what I've dealt with over the years in plumbing. So like I said, I'm going to share that with you all. Yeah, so you guys get an understanding of my experience and where I come from. That way you know that I'm here telling you to become a plumber, get into the trades. Like, well, this guy doesn't really do this stuff. But I really do it. Been doing it for a long time. That's why I'm extremely passionate about it. Want to bring you all this information. So this is going to be done on PowerPoint. I know it's probably been 20 years since anybody in here seen a PowerPoint. I'm old school, not tech savvy at all. I can barely work my iPhone. So we're going to get in here. Just bear with me for a moment as I get this all set up, all right? All right, so my name is Nathan Orlov. I am the owner, operator, lead plumber at Orlov's Plumbing. This is my company. Started it back in 2021. Here we are, 2023. Things are still going smooth. It's been an absolute great journey. All right, so since 2012, I worked full-time as a W-2 employee. I primarily worked for two different companies. I used to work for Mr. Reuter as a drain technician and also like a sewer jet operator. I was doing this in a city called Toledo, Ohio. Did that for about a year and a half. I moved back to Cleveland, and then I started with a small mom and pop company and worked for them for roughly another 7 years, give or take a little bit. It's a great company to work for. I ended up at some point working with them, deciding like, hey, I've built up enough clientele. It's good enough time for me to go out on my own and give it a shot. Neither I'm going to fall on my face and have to go work for somebody else, or it's going to be a great success. And so far, it's been pretty good. I can't complain. So in 2019, I actually started the company, formed it as an LLC. I would start doing side work on the weekends, building up a little bit of clientele, and getting myself prepared over the long run for having my own clientele to be able to get my own jobs, figure out how to advertise, get good leads, and not spend a ton of money in the process doing it. And in 2021, that became a reality for me. I left the company in June 2021 and went full-time on my own business. So I'm here in Cleveland. We have a lot of older homes here, a lot of century homes, especially in the area I work in. So my main background is dealing with these older homes. I have a ton of experience with reworking systems in these older homes, fixing some of the fixtures that are in there, like some of the older faucets and tubs. Not everybody wants to have that stuff removed, which tends to be the easier case, to just pull something out, replace it with something new. I've learned over the years how to actually rebuild this stuff and how to find it at some of our suppliers. So that's more like my specialty, is working in the older homes and having that aptitude for being able to do that. Because a lot of plumbers that I've noticed over the years, they don't want to work in these homes, or they want it to be very simple. These are not simple homes to be able to work in. And also I have a large background in waterproofing and drain cleaning. Kind of comes with these homes as well too. Let me skim through a couple of these. So I have some on here. I'm not really going to go over like what the responsibilities of a plumber are. We deal with water, we deal with sanitary and storm sewers, we deal with gas piping. Me and my company and my guys, we deal with all that. I'm not going to go over the experience part just yet. At least for how much experience does it take to be a qualified plumber? Actually, I'll zoom through this real quick. There's different levels to this. You can check out some of my other videos, the difference between like a journeyman, a master, and a licensed plumber. I'm a licensed plumber. Typically for that, you need to do 4 years of school 8,500 hours on the job training, along with permits that have been pulled every year. You got to take a couple state tests, yada yada, then you can get your license. That's pretty much to put it very lightly. So the big thing is, and the major part of this video is, how much experience does Nathan have? Well, I have over 26,000 hours of on-the-job training and work experience, and this is all with water, sewer, and gas components, which is roughly 10 years consecutively with a lot of overtime in there. I did 4 years at a trade school. I went to Associated Builders and Contractors, by far one of the best trade schools I've ever seen. They are extremely well equipped with materials, great teachers. They have very good books that they use. I learned a lot at this school that I would have not learned in the field. And to help catch me up to speed, you learn about certain materials that you see out in the field, certain practices, how to handle certain situations. Overall, great experience. If anybody's going to get in the trades, I advise that you do some sort of vocational school like this, and it's rather inexpensive as well. At this current time, I have over 100 hours of continuing education, and what that is, with my license, I have to get continuing education credits every year, up to, I believe ours is like 10 hours, and it comes down to taking classes. So like I might do a boiler class or a backflow class. There might be some on new materials coming out in the world and in our field that we're going to see. So those classes will get you hours, and I've done roughly 100 hours of classes. And there's all sorts. Like I say, you got boilers. Some are going to teach you about sewers and some of the newer materials out, things like that. Even there's some business classes that you can take as well. Now me, I am a licensed plumbing contractor, completely different from a journeyman or even a master plumber. Mine is kind of, I don't want to say above them, but in a sense it is, because I can pull permits and run jobs, whereas if you have a journeyman or a master license, it pretty much just gives you qualifications when working for a company. You can't actually pull any permits. I had to pass 2 state tests, and roughly it took about 8 hours to do that, 4 hours for each test. I have a lot on my background, 5 years consecutively working in the field, so many hours doing work, so many permits that were pulled on jobs that I worked on. Every state is different. Every state is going to have different requirements. So it's up to you to check with your state building department to figure out what kind of requirements they want for you. I'm also licensed in backflow and service protection. To keep it simple, what that is, I'm responsible for protecting and testing and replacing devices that are put in place to protect your water in your home and the city water on their side. There's certain devices out there, and depending on where I get into this video, I might go over that a little bit, but probably not. But yeah, I hold a license in that. Every now and again I get into it. I have a special device that I test these devices with, and I have books where we find service parts, all that stuff, replacement. Do a lot of vault work with it. It's easy work, but it can be very difficult at times. I have over 6,000 hours of drain cleaning experience. Typically, this is not required of plumbers. Just because you're a plumber does not mean you're going to have to deal with drain cleaning. Fortunately for me, though, both of the major companies that I worked with, we did a lot of drain cleaning. As I said, when I was with Mr. Reuter, I was a drain cleaning technician. I did a lot with a sewer jet. And then when I moved back to Cleveland, started working with a small mom and pop company. They were mostly waterproofing and with a small plumbing service division. So with both of those companies, I did a lot of drain cleaning. It was constant snaking and jetting sewers, doing waterproofing, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, not required of plumbers, but it's a great skill to have. And in my opinion, if you're in the sewer cleaning or sewer replacement game, that's where some of the better money is. Higher margins, lower overhead costs. Video for another day, obviously. I have over 100 hours at this point of isometric design. Most people aren't going to know what that is, but if you look on this page, you kind of see that diagram. It's a plumbing diagram showing where like toilets and sinks, floor drains, all that stuff are, along with the vent piping and the waste piping. Well, you have to design that, you have to size the piping, and this is telling essentially an inspector or somebody who's running blueprints where the plumbing is going and how it's going to be designed. So I'll draw maps like this every now and again Oops. Sorry, I told you guys I don't know how to work this for real. So 100 hours of isometric design. Like I've briefly touched on too, I've got over 6 years of waterproofing and storm mitigation experience. So for those of you that are in a state where you have a basement, we used to do a lot of digging around the homes, replacing the downspout lines and the drain tiles. So like if you have a wet basement or you get water in your basement during rainstorms, we did a lot with fixing those problems. Also in the water mitigation part is, let's say, and this will work for anybody, basement or not, if you have a spot in your yard where it rains and you get a lot of water buildup out there, we put in certain drains and certain storm systems that will keep your ground dry, take that water away, and disperse it somewhere else. So I've got a lot of experience with that as well too. I'm also confined space certified with over 200 hours in confined space work, and that tends to go more into the backflow license that I have. I'm in Ohio, we're a cold state, freezing water lines, everything has to be pretty deep out here, and a lot of our backflow devices in for the commercial properties and some homes, they're in what's called a vault. So it's like a big underground box. It's a confined space. You only have one point of entry and exit. It can be very difficult to work in sometimes. You do have to have special certification to work in there. Got to have like the air monitor with the hoist and the whole jacket, all that stuff. And actually, so if I go to this setup here, if you pay attention to the picture, this is that setup that I was talking about. So right here, I'm getting hoisted down into a confined space to go fix a water line. I probably have my air monitor somewhere over here, and then there would have been a technician over here to actually drop me down in the pit. And in the event something goes bad, something blows out, or something caves in, I can get pulled out of the hole. Unfortunately, that's dead or alive. Hopefully alive, though, anytime I'm getting pulled out. So that's my main bio. With the experience I have over the past 10 years, working for a couple of different companies, this is the main thing that I've done over the years. And what I found, I tend to have quite a bit more experience than most plumbers out there, even some of the older guys, just because of the companies that I've worked at. They've had me doing such a large array of jobs. When I was looking at my books and even thinking about the companies I've worked at, you know, I do mostly service work at residential properties, and then I do a little bit of light commercial. When I was working at the companies, I was probably doing maybe like 60% residential, 40% commercial. Did a lot of work in apartment buildings, fixing water lines, toilets, shower valves, that kind of stuff. Pretty easy work, just bigger materials. But now that I'm on my own in my company, it's gone down quite a bit. I'm probably about 90% residential service and another 10% on the commercial side. I have a couple small apartment buildings I work at, and then a couple restaurants as well that I service. So I've got a decent background in that stuff. Nothing industrial at all. And just to show you, anybody that's interested in it, if you're still watching, backflow prevention. I was talking about my license. If you're in a warm state, you know, like Florida or down south, you've probably seen devices that look just like this, like out front of apartment buildings, hotels, that kind of area. This is a backflow device. So I have to hook my test up to these ports over here, and I do a pressure test on it essentially to make sure that those check valves inside are working properly. For us, we're never that lucky. They don't just sit above ground like this. In Ohio, like I said, they're down in a vault. So this is one of the main devices that I work with. There's plenty of others. I mean, there's hundreds of different devices out there we deal with, from big to small. And that's yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. Like I said, I just wanted to give you guys my background, let you know what I've dealt with over the years, where my experience is at. Yeah, so if you have any questions, you know, or you want to learn a little bit more about me or know some more specifics on what I've done, that'd be great. I would love to touch on that subject with any of you all. And thank you for watching the video. Appreciate you as always. You all have a great day. Thanks.